meeting to order tonight. This is, was properly posted as a request to rezone part of Hartman Homes land from commercial to industrial. Subsequent to the request, we've had advice from our attorney saying that we would have to amend our comp plan in order to do that. All the people that were aware of this, I didn't want to cancel the meeting, so we can still have it. I think we can have it as an informational concept meeting so that the town board can get a sense as to what the concerns are for the applicant and the neighbors. So we only have 15 minutes. We can go perhaps a little longer, but Mike, if you just fill us in as to what your request is, why you're requesting it, and who you're requesting it for. If you're able to do that, I think that would help the people in the audience.
Sure. Yep. So my name is Mike Hartman from Hermes Homes, and you guys are all familiar with the property. So we've got some people interested in doing, I guess what I call an office warehouse, which is, for example, our HVAC contractor. He wants to put a office front and have some warehouse space behind it, and that's not defined under commercial, is my understanding. So that's one of the uses we're looking for. And that's in kind of the section, actually. Right now, okay, so go a little bigger picture here for everybody. Right now, you can see we have one storage building going up. It's that tall one. Everybody kind of noticed, I'm sure. So we've got room for 4 of those, and those are under the commercial, the commercial regulations. Yeah. So okay. And then I think, Doug, where are we? We're talking about rezoning this section here. This we're going to keep as commercial for now. Okay, on the southern boundary. And then this was going to be the industrial, and here's where the HVAC contractor wants to be, and possibly do some more of those up here, keeping all of the frontage in commercial. And one concept for, see, this all started, we were going to do an office building for ourselves, and then I got a little creative and bought a whole bunch of land. I thought I'd develop my way into this. So our office building would be something like this. That would be right along the highway. So we're planning that and possibly some more of those. We've got somebody interested in a convenience store in that location right now. Okay. So that would all stay commercial. This would be commercial here in the southern part. This would likely stay commercial, but then we'd have to start going to industrial. But then there's also some dialogue about light industrial here as well. So we can certainly have that discussion as well. But right now I know industrial would cover this guy here. So there was, and I guess I hate to put in percentages, but right now Arrow had an interest in expanding their facility over here and taking up, there's like 6 acres right here, but they've just kind of gone silent. They're trying to buy some more facilities someplace else instead of expanding their existing one. So that's kind of up in the air. But if Arrow did purchase this, they would need industrial as well, but they might also work on their light industrial. So if somebody can, if you have any questions, I can answer them, but I guess industrial, commercial light industrial concept as well. So, questions?
Hi, Mike.
Yes.
I'm Laura.
Yeah, so yeah.
Can you please show the neighborhood and everyone so that it's very clear where the cul-de-sac is at the end of Wildberry and also the potential future road
Yep.
at the end of that? And how that can go. That's very concerning.
Sure. So Wildberry ends right here, okay? And this was not my idea, but they made us put a 66-foot easement in that goes straight to the south into what would be existing residential right here. Our hope was to move this big storm pond. Now we've got a natural buffer between you guys back here, if a lot of you guys are from this neighborhood, by that big storm pond that was built there, and that 66-foot easement. But that could theoretically be a road someday if the township chooses to make it that way. I mean, I had to give up land to do that, so it wasn't my idea, of course. So I wanted to move this back and then have more opportunity here. But Doug, we have what, 300 to 400 feet of buffer between any building?
About 320 to 360 feet width on that pond from the property line to the east side of that pond.
From there to there. So, yeah. Yep, so this area here is the only area that's common area, and that's, I guess, a couple lots right here. here, and that's,
So my concern and why I'm asking tonight is because of course, this butts up directly to our property line.
Oh, it does?
That butts up directly to our property line.
sure, yep.
So that's right off of Wildberry, and I want that to be very clear. And also, the potentials you've mentioned, it needs to be very clear for everyone to understand what it means when you rezone and what authority and opportunity is there for those who occupy the space you're building on in the future for change, because we've all built there to stay there a while.
Yep,
And that's a concern, and we need to know about that, because I have worked in real estate here, and I have watched this stuff slip through the cracks in the
Yep.
past for residential people.
well, so I'm trying to get the zoning changed, and then, so you guys enforcing the zoning, I think would be more a question for you folks. Is that kind of what you're wondering about, once it's
First
changed?
of all, you're planning, but what are the parameters for anybody who builds or purchases or does development on that piece of property in the future, should they sell what they have there, or reconstruct how they operate themselves or whatever? We need to know that, because if that is rezoned industrial, that's a serious concern. And we just went through a water gremlin issue, and people may not realize the pollution that water gremlin was going to do, who thought they were trying to sneak in here into our industrial park here, which was stopped verbatim immediately by the mayor in the city of Hudson. The pollution that that company would have brought here is worse than the Freedom pollution. And to this day, those homes there that Freedom had polluted have water tank things, in their homes, because the water's polluted, their wells are polluted. Of course, I'm very interested in that and concerned, because I have a well right at the borderline of that.
Sure.
These things are really concerning, Mike, and I just wanted to know if you could possibly address it, or we could just make it clear that we need to know that.
I don't think I can, because I don't understand how, once you get you guys have to approve every site and every business that goes in there, correct?
Let me just so we have some parameters tonight.
Right.
Yeah, maybe I'm not understanding the question.
It's going to be a little more loosey-goose, how's that for a technical term? Because this is not structured as a complete public hearing based on the advice of our attorney.
It's right next to me, though. Right next to me. So I'm going
to go through this real quickly.
Yep.
Mike's comments are Mike's comments. After the public hearing, we're going to close the public hearing. I'm going to ask for who's for it, who's against it, but we're going to close this so we get a sense of the audience. Then we're going to pick this up at our regularly scheduled board meeting. It starts at 6:30. And at that point, we can discuss it further amongst the board members. And if there's additional questions we have from the audience, we can do that too. So what I would like to do is collect your comments tonight, which I think are valid on both sides, without getting into Mike's not exactly right.
Oh, I
type
understand.
stuff.
I just wanted to ask the question. He asked if we had
Yep.
questions.
Oh, I didn't know if this, I've never been in one of these public forums, so I
But I
didn't
think,
know if
that-
that was.
I think the question is, if you rezone it as industrial, and
Right.
it gets sold,
Right,
that's more the
right.
question, so.
right.
Right.
And that's
Outside
more
of that.
likely than not.
Yeah, well, of course, I mean, I'm rezoning it to sell the
Right.
lots. So
Right.
I just don't know how I can regulate what
I
happens.
need names and
once it's-
addresses
Yeah.
if you're gonna talk. So
Yep.
what was your
So-
name?
Is this
Vicky.
an official public hearing, or are we just talking right now too? I think we need to make
Yeah.
that clear.
I just did, this is an informational meeting.
Five.
So will there be a
16.
real public hearing eventually?
This is the start, so we have to.
Okay,
address
okay,
that.
I'm sorry, I don't have all night. I'm gonna go through this again, I can't have 4 people talking at once. This was scheduled as a public hearing tonight to possibly look at rezoning this land. At that point, we would do the same procedure I'm doing right now. On advice of our attorney, we need to amend our comprehensive plan to allow an overlay to allow for industrial zoning in that. That's gonna be another public hearing at which you can come and have input. Rather than cancel the meeting tonight, I wanted to have an informal meeting where you can meet each other. We can get a sense as a board as to what your concerns are, and then we're going to discuss that informally as we do with any concept plan that comes in at a regular board meeting that starts at 6:30. So hopefully that answered your question. There's going to be another public meeting
official public hearing. at some
to
point.
amend the zoning ordinance.
Maybe. at some
Maybe.
point.
But this is not going to be voted on tonight.
No.
Tim, you had your hand up?
To answer her question, you go out on our website, in the zoning, it tells you all the permitted uses in industrial, in commercial, light industrial, and commercial. So if you want to look up what the permitted uses are, it will show you that. You know what I mean? So you guys will know. That's the
Well,
question.
personally, what's
Yeah.
allowed, not.
Yeah.
And that shows you what the permitted uses are today.
Today.
And that's a very valid question that's being raised. You know, to answer that, we don't look at every one and reapprove it. There's going to be new uses that can come in under that zoning.
And
So that's a very valid concern.
That's also a public hearing.
Correct.
Zoning, any change to the zoning would be another public hearing.
And who's notified of that public hearing, and how are they notified?
The letters are sent to the adjoining landowners, and it's in the paper and posted on the website and in our posting spots.
It's, by
Arrow and-
by statute, we have to notify people within 200 feet of the property. But just as tonight, it gets around pretty quick. Okay, this lady had your hand up?
My name is Jody Beardbauer, and I'm an adjoining landowner, and I didn't receive any notification.
Right. And what's your address?
841 Cedarberry Court.
Correct. Then that's because of the state regs that we have within 200 feet of the property, we give notice, a written notice.
Okay. That doesn't, it just says property owner. I realize that's state regulation, but that's not satisfactory to me personally.
Is there anyone else that has questions on this? Anyone that wants to speak for it or against it?
I have a question.
Yes?
Gary Tremer, 567 Wildberry Drive. I'm just wondering the plans for the HVAC, potential HVAC building.
How do you spell your last name?
dimensions?
Dimension of the building? Haven't done any design.
TRIN.
Because my understanding is like once it's zoned industrial, you can build up to 70 feet
TIR.
high and
Oh, sure.
5,000 minimum square feet.
Well, I have a general idea he wants to be under $1 million with the lot and everything, so it's not gonna get to that point. He was talking about doing something, you know, we're kind of a design-based company. He was talking about taking an element of some of this similar architecture, putting it on the front and putting warehouse space behind it, so he likes.
And what type of work is gonna be done at the HVAC building?
What's that?
There's a warehouse, is it a warehouse of parts? Is there manufacturing going on there?
No, he does furnace, you know, sales and installation of all our furnaces in new homes, so he's like the guy who put the furnace in your house.
And even if it's zoned industrial, will you still put a buffer up? I know commercial, you're supposed to. It says
Right.
in the guidelines that this gentleman.
I think industrial too, so.
Industrial says you don't have to, but as a courtesy, would you do it?
Oh, yeah, I think any one of these, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there'll be a site review of any business that goes on any one of these lots, right? So let's say Arrow bought it, you guys would do a site review of what they're doing, and you guys could say, let's do a berm between these two and plant trees on it.
Well, I think that's going to be an issue.
Huh?
I think that could be an issue, you know, if a condition of rezoning it is to berm it.
Sure.
You're going to have a significant berm that you're going to have to build there between.
Well, and quite honestly, it's easy because there's this much black dirt on all of that, and if they're gonna do a facility where they have parking and whatnot, all that black dirt has to go somewhere, so.
I do want to share as chair that something was said is, we don't go into these rezonings lightly, and it isn't like, oh, we'll rezone this today because there's a ABC company here. And then tomorrow maybe we'll come back in and rezone another little part of it because there's a CDE business here. You know, if we look at rezoning this, we should be looking at a comprehensive plan for the entire town. And does this fit in our comprehensive plan? Is that where we want our industrial use, or do we want commercial there, which has been there for multi years? So I don't want to leave the people here tonight that you just come in and, you know, this little part I'll rezone, this little part I won't.
Right,
was
and-
recently rezoned commercial, or
Right.
it was agricultural before, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Was,
Used that way.
And by the way, this is being videotaped, so if we can speak up really nice and loud, that would help us. Okay, Denny, you had a
Yeah,
question?
on Denny Road, I kept the land next to it. There ain't no way in hell they could build a berm on my side. There's a waterway about 10, 15 feet deep. So this talking a berm thing is not gonna happen. I'm an excavator. I know.
That wouldn't be on your side, it'd be on our side, so we don't have to look at it.
Yeah, but
Oh, so we don't want to look at it either?
Yeah.
Well, so we're not rezoning that southern part.
Fence either.
You what?
We're not rezoning that southern part.
Well, but still, I'm gonna look right at everything you're doing, and then it's my water we're talking, and my air we're breathing, buddy.
Okay.
My call.
Yeah?
Okay, you had another comment?
Yes, I'm Lenore, I'm at Lenore Houlihan, and it's 571 Wildberry. And Jody's property is right there as well. She should have gotten a written notice, number one, that needs to be on the record. Number two, as far as berms go, didn't seem to be a problem to do a berm up by the railroad track for the two houses that weren't even occupied at the time in that area for Arrow and us. Why would you not? I mean, there's so many more homes down on that end of Wildberry there. You know, there needs to be some kind of berm there, but now they've done this waterway thing, which runs into an already existing waterway with that development. And also the issue is that I'm trying to question, not exactly what Mr. Hartman's trying to do. What I'm addressing is the future of when, and it will happen, because it's happened everywhere in Hudson and the industrial parks. There's an initial, someone who occupies that space, but then it's sold to someone else, and that's where I'm just trying to find clarity on this, sir. I'm not trying to be, you know, vicious. I'm just trying to understand that clearly, because I watched this happen when I was in real estate, and I managed Troy Burn and set up 5 different residential developments in this county. We need to be really cautious, and now it's right there at my house.
Which is why we're actively listening to that.
Yes.
And that wouldn't come back in as a site plan, that wouldn't come back in as additional trees.
I could
or
care
buffer.
less who's building next to who with Mr. Hartman right now.
Right.
We don't care.
And
As long as it's-
Supervisor Foster is exactly right. We can
Yeah.
articulate what the permitted uses are today.
Two things
And
on that. I
I just need to
understand.
finish. We can articulate what the uses are today.
Right.
You can see that in our permitted ordinance. But to have industrial next to residential is not the ideal plan.
Exactly.
That's why we're looking at the comprehensive plan. And if you look at our comprehensive plan, it's historically been around railroad tracks
Yeah.
or corridors of truck traffic. You know, you're also going from commercial to industrial, where you start introducing truck traffic in there, which is something that the industrial users use.
Yeah.
It's different than the commercial. So we're taking good notes.
I understand, and like I say, I'm just raising this issue because I've experienced it for 40 years.
Right.
So the issue isn't initially what Mr. Hartman's doing. The issue is
We as a board tonight, I have not seen, and that's why we have to keep this discussion is, do we want to have
Right.
industrial there?
Right.
Then the secondary discussion is, do we want this use there?
Yes.
And the
Yeah.
applicant has said this is an HVAC use. I've seen nothing. I
Yeah.
don't know if it's 8 feet tall or 80 feet tall, which we
Right.
allow up to 7 stories tall in industrial.
Right.
That's a problem with
Yes.
hanging lights on it and everything else.
Right, and there's no berm that's gonna block.
Right.
If it was industrial to start with, none of these people would block it.
Correct.
They're supposed to
All of us bought our homes knowing that that was zoned commercial.
Right.
Right. Okay, I want to take a new person before, and then we're gonna.
This is a new person.
I got one question. Craig Houlihan, 571 Wildberry. On your plan there, you have that set aside for the road, potentially road, and you were talking about moving that ponding area. And I'm just concerned if that road would, if it does get zoned industrial, are they gonna be able to access through Wildberry there? Or does that cul-de-sac stay? And is there potential for a site to be built on, I'm not sure which direction you wanted to move the ponding area.
No, so just so clear in that, when I went in with the original plan, I wanted to move the pond all the way back to your guys' property line. And then at one of the meetings, they said, no, we want a 66-foot easement here in case they ever want to tie a road into the residential property to the south. So I'm not going to move the pond at this stage of the game. It is what it is. So, and it's never going to be a buildable site. There's not enough continuous buildable area there. It is what it is. It just gave it another 66-foot buffer for you guys.
So that plan that you got laid out on the paper that you guys dug in,
Yep.
that's not changing.
No.
No matter what we do, if it stays commercial or goes industrial.
Right.
So that footprint's what it is.
Yep.
Which is why we have to be very careful as to what the owner of the land to the south comes in and requests for zoning, and right now it's zoned ag residential as yours is. Your hand, and then I'm going to ask for any people who want to speak for it, any people against it, and then
Joe Beer, 841 Cedarberry Court. I guess my question is, do we have a need for more industrial zoning in the town of Hudson? Or why would we need to change that? Isn't there other adequate industrial properties available that they could use?
I think that's an excellent question, and I think that's why we need to go back with our attorney's advice and look at our comprehensive plan.
Right.
You know, we've relied on these plans for decades, and we've told people who want to come to our town where places are available, and we welcome industry. But then we've also told people who live here, hey, this is what the zoning is next to you, and you should be able to reasonably rely on that as a zoning that you can build next to and live next to, which is why I made the comment, we're not in the business of parsing this. If this might be industrial today, then we come back and relook at light industrial here and maybe something over here. This has to be done comprehensively.
I appreciate that. I'm actually a business owner in the town of Hudson, and I reside in the town of Hudson, but I do appreciate having a separation between the two. My business is in an industrial park, but I live, in a residential area, and I agree that the homes would be devalued, right? That's my personal opinion as a property owner.
And I would share this just as a generic comment because we've tried to give guidance as to where you can go in our ordinance to look for permitted uses. There's also site restrictions that we can do. We can, as a board, we can look at parking and landscaping and buffering. But the comment was made, if we have an industrial use that's up to 70 feet tall, that berming is not going to ameliorate or minimize that concern, and especially if lights are put on it. And once that's rezoned, it's rezoned. So we look at this very judiciously.
And that was also another question with the rezoning. If you look at online, as we stated earlier, under industrial, there isn't anything in there about buffering. So is that correct? It's zoned industrial, there is no requirement?
It's in the site plan portion of when the site plan comes in. We could look at materials on the building, paving, curb cuts, and we do look at it, but I'm saying that's not the relief valve that I'm looking at here in these discussions. It's got to be, or is it going to be rezoned? Okay, is there anyone here who wants to speak from the audience for this tonight? Normally I'd ask this 3 times, so I'll just do it real quickly. Anyone wants to speak for it tonight? You want to speak for it tonight?
I want to make it very clear, I'm not speaking against this, I'm trying to be clear. That's why I'm speaking slowly and as articulately as possible. I am not necessarily saying this is bad with Mr. Hartman's planning. What I'm saying is we need to really look at this going forward. And you very much expressed how it will be carefully considered. I'm just saying, we don't plan to live here for 3 years and sell. We plan to be here. So that's why people are concerned. And we do have a large industrial park that does have a lot of vacancies in it. You can just drive through there. There may be some things that are very good there, and Mr. Hartman could still develop that land. So I want to make it clear, I'm not saying I'm for or against at this motion. It's not even a motion, we're not at that point. But I'm just saying, I want to make sure it's very clear. I have also been a business person here, and I managed some very wealthy residential developments here. That's wonderful. I now live in one here, next to where this is going to go, and also have a lot of respect for that. I just want to make sure that I'm being clear on that. I'm not saying I'm against it. I'm just bringing some issues up we need to be aware of going ahead.
I appreciate that. And I'm also trying to give feedback. I'm also trying to be fair to everyone, the applicants as well. If there's comments, as you've heard tonight, that, hey, there's concerns, And if there's people that have, hey, I think this is fine, then we need to hear from both sides. I do need to start wrapping this up. I have another public hearing that was supposed to start at 5:30. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on this tonight?
I'd like to just speak against it real quick.
Okay.
That's my house right there.
I need
I
your
don't
name
want
and
any-
address, please.
847 Cedarberry.
And your
I
name?
don't- Jeremy Ray and Miranda Ray. I don't want it ever zoned industrial.
Okay.
And no one even came to, I get a note in the mail. You could have came and said, hi, I want to zone this industrial. Do we still live in a civil age? Apparently not. I'll just slide a note in. Thank you.
I saw another hand up.
Chris O'Brien, North Hudson, Wisconsin. I've dealt with Mr. Hartman and his company for many years, and I just wanted you to know you're dealing with a top-flight professional. And I understand things are going up close to your properties and so forth, but I can tell you, you're dealing with a consummate professional, and nothing would be done that's not to the best of his ability.
Okay. Just-
Can you speak up, please? We can't hear you up here.
Mr. Hartman started laughing when Mr. Roll voiced his concern. That's not very professional.
It wasn't necessarily that, but when he called me buddy, that wasn't professional.
Okay, Chris, we didn't get your address. Where do you live?
730 Hunter Circle.
Okay.
Can I just have 30 seconds yet?
Yes, and then we have.
Yeah, we're not trying to pull the wool over anybody's eyes. You know, commercial, just so you know, there's other things that I would never consider doing back there. Auto service shop, hotels, motels, grocery stores, liquor stores, campgrounds, storage areas, car dealerships, daycare centers. You know, we've got our storage area, that one area kind of confined to the south. That's it. So what we're proposing is really, you know, much less intrusive than any of those things. We're so close to being able to make it work. This HVAC building is going to be 6,000, 7,000 square feet of warehouse with a attractive front on it. And then
I'm not advocating that tonight. I'm just throwing it into the public discussion.
Sure. Yep. I get it. I just wanted to make sure everybody.
You gotta let me finish my sentences, folks. I'm gonna hit the ground gavel. One of the reasons I'm throwing this into the discussion, one of the benefits of having a permitted use is that we can also amend permitted uses. So if as a community we think 5G cable is the best thing that ever came to the world, we could sit together as a community and look at what our permitted uses are. So I'm just putting that in the mix. Anyone else who wants to speak for or against this tonight? I really appreciate you coming out. I did not want to cancel the meeting. I thought it was a benefit that we should do it. We as a town board respect your opinion. And I'm not asking you all to stay. We have a very long agenda tonight. But we will be talking about this after our 6:30 meeting starts tonight. That's how our protocol has to work. So anything else? Okay, I'm gonna close this portion of the hearing.